Hi, good morning, class. Welcome to my next lecture of managerial economics, that is lecture 13 of Unit 4. So, in this lecture, we are going to have a slight discussion about the different curves which are being formulated on the basis of the profit margin which are being uh, earned by the different uh, sellers who are dealing with the selling of product in the market. It is also a kind of, you can say, a market structure that different buyers and different sellers are dealing with the different commodities in the market. So in this session, we are going to have a detailed discussion that in order to earn more and more profit, or in order to be in a continuous race of earning profit, some firms come together and they formed a group which is known by the name of cartel or kink demand. So according to the situation, to the prevailing situation of the market, different firms comes together and they decided to do the business on some certain terms and conditions, and every firm who has joined that group, they had to follow and work according to the instructions which are being issued to each and every firm. So these are known as cartels or king demand curve. So in this session of mine, I am going to have a detailed study of these two functions. The first is the king demand curve. A king demand curve occurs when the demand curve is not a straight line but has a different elasticity for higher and lower prices. So when there is a change in the price level, either the prices go to a very high level or the prices go to the very low level. So if the elasticity of change in price level varies, so that can be represented in a form of curve, but that curve is not in a straight line or slanting line, and that is known as a king demand curve. One example of a king demand curve is the model for an oligopoly. This model of oligopoly suggests that prices are rigid and that firm will face different effects of for both increasing price or decreasing price. So in both of the situation, the firm has to bear some impact. If the prices are rising, that means the firms will be in a stage of earning more and more profit. And if there is a continuous decrease in price, then the firms be in a phase of earning loss. So it is up to the increase or decrease in the level of price. So we can say that in king demand curve, price changes in the level of price plays an very important role. The kink in the demand curve occurs because rival firms will behave differently to price cuts and price increase. So just to be in the normal reign of the process, or just to be remain in the existing stage of market situation, different rival firms come together and they decided to do the business upon certain terms and conditions, and every rival firm has to follow those rules and regulations of the market. So you can say that following the different instructions to be in the race of market, the rival firms comes together just to earn a normal profit. So this concept of earning normal profit, where different firms comes together and they work upon certain terms and conditions, then that whole situation is known as a king demand curve. That means where rival firm used to come join together and they decided to work on certain instructions, rules and regulations, and every firm has to follow those instructions. So this is the diagrammatic representation of King demand curve. Here you can see a demand curve. There is slightly a king, that means a bend towards downward. So the point where the demand curve starts bending, so that point is known as a kink demand curve, because here the rival firms join together and they agree to do the business upon certain terms and conditions which every firm has to follow. So this situation is known as a kink demand curve, and a bending demand curve is known as a king demand curve. Demand elastic for price increase and demand inelastic for price decrease. So here you can see a downward bending curve is known as a demand king demand curve. The logic of the king demand curve is based on a few firms dominate the industry, firms wish to maximize profit. So it is a market situation where few firms dominate the industry. They used to combine together in order to earn maximum profit. So those firms who want to earn maximum profit, they formed a group which is based on certain terms and conditions. And the basic idea behind king demand curve is that few firms dominate the industry in order to earn maximum profit. Now, what is the impact if there is an increase in price level of the commodity? If a firm increases the price, then it becomes more expensive than rival and therefore consumers will switch to its rivals. Yes. If the firm starts increasing price in a continuous basis, then it becomes more expensive than rivals. Then the consumers will switch to the next rival who is providing the goods at best possible price. So this is known as a price rival situation. Therefore, for a price rise, there is likely to be a significant fall in demand. Demand is therefore price elastic. In this case of increasing price, firms will lose revenue because the percentage fall in demand is greater than the percentage fall in price, increase in price. So when increase in price is more than increase in demand, then the firm is not in a position to generate more and more revenue. So here you can say that in this situation, the demand will become price elastic demand. इम्पैक्ट ऑफ प्राइस कट कि अगर आपका कंटिन्यूअस प्राइस राइज होता है तो राइवल फर्म्स पे कैसा इम्पैक्ट पड़ेगा द कंज्यूमर्स विल स्विच टू द नेक्स्ट बेस्ट पॉसिबल राइवल फर्म who is providing the goods at best possible prices, means that rival firm is providing the goods at within the purchasing power of the customer. So the customer will obviously purchase the goods from those firms who is providing the firm at a best possible price in a best quality and which are within a purchasing power of the customer. Now, what are the impacts if there is a decrease in price? If a firm cut its price, it is likely to lead to a different effect. In the short term, if a firm cut price, it would cause a big increase in demand and therefore would lead to a rise in revenue. If for a certain period of time the firms had decided to cut down the prices for a specific period of time, then it results in increase in demand, which help in generating more and more revenue for the existing firm. The firm would gain market share, and the firm will decide to capture more and more market share by decreasing the price level of the commodities. However, other firms will not want to see this fall in market share, and so they will respond by also cutting price to follow the first firm. So if they want to be in the race of earning profit, then the other firm should also cut down the price in order to earn a normal profit. The net effect is that if all the firms cut price, the individual firm will only see a small increase in demand. So if one of the firm has reduced the price level, and the effect is that all the other joining firms had also reduced the price level, then what is the result of this situation? Then there is a slightly increase in demand, but you are not sure for that, because there is a price war. Demand for a firm is price inelastic. There is a smaller percentage rise in demand. So this situation is known as a price war, where every existing firm has cut down the price in order to generate maximum revenue for their firm. So by doing this, what is the result of the other firm? There is a small increase in the percentage of demand. If demand is inelastic and price falls, then revenue will also fall. Now, if prices are stable, that whatever the situation is, the firms will not change the price. Then what in under that condition, what is the effect? If the king demand curve is true, the firm has no incentive to raise price or to cut price. That means there should not be incentive, that if according to the situation, there that is only the decision of the existing firms, that whether they want to go for increase in price, or whether they want to go for decrease in price, or whether they should continue with the price stability. So it depends on the situation or the current market prevailing situation. Now we are discussing what is the example of king demand curve. One possibility is the market for petrol. So petrol market can be the best example of king demand curve. It is homogeneous and consumers are price sensitive. If one petrol station increased the price, there would be a shift to the other petrol stations. However, if one petrol station cuts prices, other firm may feel obliged to follow suit and also cut price. Therefore, a small cut would be self-defeating for the first time. That means the market of petrol can be the best example of the king demand curve, because it is a homogeneous product, and the consumers, no matters if the firm increases the price, then the consumer anyhow will have to purchase the petrol, because there is no choice for them. So they can continue with the consumption, but they can cut down the consumption of using their vehicle for some period of time. So, uh, market of petrol can be the example of king demand curve. How realistic is the king demand curve in practice? That if the firms are continue to follow the practice of king demand curve, will the situation is profitable for them, or whether they should continue with the concept or not? In many oligopolies, firms may have a degree of brand differentiation. Mobile phone companies can increase the price, but consumers are willing to pay because the price is not the dominant factor. Some petrol station may increase price and not see elastic demand because they have the best location. Firms may not want to defend market share. Rather than getting pulled into a price, some firms may not respond to price but continuous on non-priced competition to retain an advantage. So this is not a real situation if we talk about. So mobile phone companies can be the best example just to judge whether this situation is realistic or not. For example, mobile phone companies can increase the price, but consumers are willing to pay because the price is not the dominant factor. So these are some of the factors which helps in making the concept successful or not, or whether the firms or existing firms should continue to go with the concept of king demand curve or not. So according to the prevailing conditions of the market, the firm will decide whether they should go for king or whether they should go for cartels. Other example, the first is example of petrol. The second example is of mobile phone. Now the third example is it is not just in an oligopoly where there is potential king demand curve. In the market for an addictive drug like cocaine, if the price is cut, it may encourage first time users to try. However, once addicted, if the price rises, then demand will be price inelastic. They will willing to pay the higher price to get the drug fix. Yes, in the drug market, you can also note down that there is a situation of king demand curve because they have given example of cocaine. If a person become addicted of cocaine and he is in a process of continued using cocaine, so what he will do in that situation, he won't bother that whether the prices are higher or not. He the only concept or the only opinion which sticks to his mind that he want to have that commodity at any price, no matter whether the prices are higher or not. So this can be the example of king demand curve. Now, the second topic that we are going to discuss in this session is about cartels. A cartel is defined as a group of firms that gets together to make output and price decisions. So, cartel is also a kind of groups which is formed by the different firms where different firms comes together to earn profit and to make their own output. The conditions that give rise to an oligopolistic market are also conducive to the formation of cartel. In a particular, cartel tend to arise in markets where there are few firms and each firm has a significant share of the market. So in this situation, the different firms form a group and they decided to do the business in those profitable situation and just to grab the market share. The firm will follow the concept of cartels. Oligopolistic firms join a cartel to increase their market power and members work together to determine jointly the level of output that each member will produce and or the price that each member will charge. That means oligopolistic firm will go for cartel just to increase their market share or just to increase their number of customers in the market. If the customers got increased, then automatically their profit sharing ratio will also get increased. By working together, the cartel members are able to behave like a monopolist. After a certain period of time, they used to act like a monopolist. For example, if each firm in an oligopoly sells an undifferentiated product like oil, The demand curve that each firm faces will be horizontal at the market price. If, however, the oil producing firms form a cartel like OPEC to determine their output and price, they will jointly face a downward sloping market demand curve just like a monopolist. In fact, the cartel's profit maximizing decision is the same as that of the monopolist Conquer reveals. So that means in order to earn a more and more profit, or in order to become stable in the market according to the prevailing or changing situations in the market, so different firms come together and they form a group, and they work in a group in order to earn a profit, and their motive is just to maximize the profit or just to generate more and more revenue for their business. The cartel members choose their combined output at the level where their combined marginal revenue equals their combined marginal cost. So their motive is they will earn the profit till there is a situation where marginal revenue becomes equals to marginal cost. So what do you mean by the word marginal? That the additional unit. The production of an additional unit is known as a marginal. So, if you are earning a profit for that additional unit, it becomes marginal revenue. And whatever you are spending in manufacturing or producing that additional unit, so that cost will termed as a marginal cost. The production of one more extra unit is known as marginal, and the extra cost is known as the marginal cost, and the extra revenue that a company is going to earn is known as a marginal revenue. The cartel price is determined by market demand curve at the level of output chosen by the cartel. So this is the diagrammatic representation of the situation which is known as cartel, which is only termed as a situation of profit maximization. The cartel's profit are equal to the area of the rectangular box labeled ABCD in figure. So the figure ABCD is termed as a cartel because here four firms join together to earn a profit. Note that a cartel like a monopolist will choose to produce less output and charge a higher price that would be found in a perfectly competitive market. And what is the basic idea behind formation of cartel is that they want to produce less output and charge higher price just to be in the race of market. Once established, cartels are difficult to maintain. The problem is that cartel members will be tempted to cheat on their agreement to limit production. By producing more output than it has agreed to produce, a cartel member can increase its share of the cartel profits. Hence, there is a built-in incentive for each cartel member to cheat. Of course, if all members cheated, the cartel would cease to earn monopoly profit and there would no longer be any incentive for firms to remain in the cartel. So the formation of OPEC can be the example of cartel. OPEC cartel as well as other cartels, and perhaps explain why so form cartels exist. So if you want to maintain the existence of cartels, then it is very difficult to be in the prevailing market situation because it is very difficult to maintain cartels in the nearby future because there is a chances that the firm can cheat their own members. Next is price leadership. In certain situations, organizations under oligopoly are not involved in collusion. There are a number of oligopolistic organizations in the market, but one of them is dominant organization which is called price leader. So price leadership is a kind of uh, situation which is known as a price leader. So the here the firm who is earning a high profit, then that firm will become a dominant on the other prevailing firms, and that firm will decide the price level, that what should be the price of the commodity who are going to produce the same commodity as the person is producing. Price leadership takes place when there is only one dominant organization in the industry which sets the price and others have to follow it. So price leadership is only possible when one firm get dominated on the other prevailing firms, and that dominant firm will decide the price and the other firm has to follow that price. Sometimes an agreement may be developed among organizations to assign a leadership role to one of them. The dominant organization is treated as price leader because of various reasons such as large size of organization, large economies of scale and advanced technology. So only that firm which fulfills the three criteria of becoming price leadership, like large size of the organization, large economies of scale, and advanced technology. The firm which is having all these three criteria fulfilled, then that firm can go for the price leadership. According to the agreement, there is no formal restriction that other organizations should follow the price set by the leading organization. However, sometimes agreement is formal in nature. Price leadership is assumed to stabilize the price to maintain a price discipline. Yes, the firm become dominant only if the firm is earning a supernormal profit or a higher profit. This also helps in attaining effective price leadership, which works under the following conditions: when the number of organizations is small, entry to the industry is restricted, products are homogeneous, organizations have similar cost curve, and demand is inelastic or less elastic. So, if the person or if the firm is going for a price leadership, so that firm has to follow certain conditions, that the number of organization is small and there should be a restriction in the entry of the market. Products are homogeneous, that means there is no product differentiation. Organizations have similar cost curve and demand is inelastic or less elastic. So these are certain of the conditions which a firm has to fulfill if the firm is going for price leadership. So this is all for the session. Now this is the next lecture. We are going to have the same discussion. Till then, be in a process of revising, and till then, stay safe, be happy. Thank you, class.